this just in, footage of me. The air base we're talking about, Al-Assad Air Base, in 2006. Now, I went there and got to know these guys at that time. Look a little younger, hair's a little darker, but these are our brave men and women that were under fire tonight. Here with reaction live from Washington, Senator Lindsey Graham, the great states of South Carolina. You know, Senator, a lot has changed since the conflict with Iraq and the conflict with Afghanistan. Just like Vietnam, it gets politicized in that town you live in, the swamp. And we send these kids to fight, bleed, and die. They fight, they give their heart, and then we decide, never mind. That has changed my attitude about any future conflicts, and I believe it's changed yours, too. And the president's clear. There's not going to be long, protracted conflicts, and our military might is stronger than ever.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to do is thank those who are serving in uniform in the Mideast, because you're the virtual wall between us and radical Islam. We can build a wall along our southern border to protect us there, but you can't build a wall between us and radical Islam. You need some of our people over there working with others to keep these bastards at bay. So, one, to the family members, I have complete confidence in President Trump and his team to protect your family member and to protect our nation. This is the first president in the last 40 years who really understands the Iranians. This was an act of war, Sean, by any reasonable definition. The missiles were launched from Iran at targets inside of Iraq, housing U.S. military personnel. The president has all the authority he needs under Article 2 to respond, and how he responds is yet to be determined, but he has that authority to respond. It was an act of war by a regime for the last 40 years. It's been a cancer in the Mideast. When they say they want to destroy Israel, they're not kidding. They're the largest state sponsor of terrorism. So the president has to do a couple things tonight. What can I do to restore deterrence, to make sure this doesn't happen again? And he doesn't want regime change. He wants the behavior of the regime to change in 3 areas. Their ballistic missile program needs to change. That's a good example of tonight. They need to stop being the largest state sponsor of terrorism. And we need a nuclear deal that does not ensure them a pathway to a bomb like Obama. Obama was conned by the Iranians. Trump is not going to be conned by the Iranians. So his response tonight is to deal with those 3 buckets. How do we get the regime to change their behavior?
You know, and by the way, I want to give you a lot of credit because you talk about these warriors that have put themselves in harm's way for us. You've been over to Iraq and Afghanistan how many times?
57 times.
57 times. That speaks volumes to me. You're right about something. If the Iranians want regime change, that will have to come from the people of Iran. We can't be about that business.
100%.
Protracted wars, conflicts, boots on the ground, Americans knocking on doors and getting blown up. That's got to end because Washington politicizes these wars. Here's my question. I agree with you. This isn't about regime change. This is about a change in their behavior. Because the president, in my view, frankly, showed more restraint than I would have when they shot down our drone, when they took those tankers hostage, when they attacked the Saudis. They've been the number 1 state sponsor of terror. How many Americans do we now know that Soleimani in particular killed in Iraq? This behavior will get a reaction, and that is just the way the world works. And if we don't react, we're only basically incentivizing more of it.
Well, what have we learned? That President Trump can go from 0 to 60 pretty damn fast. So he absorbed the drone, saying, well, it was just a drone. I don't want to kill Iranians because I had to put the Ayatollah in a box. That was a pretty smart move. They go after the largest oil field in the world in Saudi Arabia, disrupting oil flow and oil prices, and the president held back. I can tell you, I was with him when all this happened. When they killed our contractor, that changed everything. America first means to me now, more than anything else, you kill an American, you're going to be the first one we come after. So these missiles did not kill an American tonight, I hope, but it's probably more good fortune than it is intent. The president is very methodical in his thinking. He's got one of the best national security teams that I've seen since I've been up here. But never lose sight that we're dealing with religious Nazis. They really mean it when they want to destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. They've been disrupting the Mideast for 40 years. It needs to stop.
I want to highlight this. You know, there may be a mindset, and I know we have the Benghazi Democrats and the bribe mullah Democrats.
Right.
150 billion in cash and other currency with no any place, anytime inspections, and it expires in 10 years, and you can restart your nuclear program was probably one of the dumbest deals ever. But this is a very important point. The last century, we lost 100 million human souls. Fascism, yes. Nazism, Stalin, the killing fields, Mao, over 100 million souls. Evil exists. This type of behavior, I don't want protracted wars, and I don't want boots on the ground, and I would argue never do that again. But when you're dealing with a sick, twisted ideology that would strap bombs on children and tell them to go kill Americans and Israelis, I don't see how you begin a negotiation at any level with that kind of sick, ugly, evil mindset. Do you?
Well, this regime is probably somewhere between al-Baghdadi, who's on a religious quest to destroy the world and change it to a certain form of radical Islam, and Kim Jong-un. But here's what the president, I think, understands about the Iranians. They're never going to change until you make them change. For the last 40 years, they've been wreaking havoc on the world, and you got a new sheriff in town. Here's what I think he's going to be thinking about tonight. What do I need to do tomorrow or the next day to get them back into a deterrent mode so they'll leave us alone? And how do I get them to change their missile program, to get a better deal on their nuclear program so they won't have a pathway to a bomb? And what can I do to stop their being the largest state sponsor of terrorism? The price to be paid by the Iranians has to go up before they will change. And the president is not looking for regime change, but he is looking for behavior changes. Now, the targets, are they going to be military targets? Are they going to be the oil refineries that you and I talk about? Let me say tonight, if you're watching television in Iran, I just got off the phone to the president. Your fate is in your own hands in terms of the regime's economic viability. You continue this crap, you're going to wake up one day out of the oil business.
Senator Graham, thank you for sharing that conversation with the president. We appreciate you being with us as always.